Hey, hi friends, welcome back to Bhau-Automation Lab once again. And today in this online video session, let's try to learn one more TestNG annotation. It's very important annotations while working with the real-time examples and the real-time automation concepts as well. So let's learn today TestNG annotation. It's called as a data provider. Okay. So before starting with the practical examples, let's understand some theoretical part first. So what is this TestNG data provider annotation? TestNG data provider is the feature that allow you to supply the test data to the test method in the structured way. Okay, and also it's by annotating a method with the data provider, separate test data from our test logic. Okay, and also this method returns two-dimensional array or an iterator object. Okay, containing text data, and the test method annotated with at the test can use this data provided by specifying its name in the data provider attribute. This enables the test method to execute multiple times with the different input values provided by the data provider, facilitating parameterization of the test and improving the maintainability and reusability. For example, let's understand this concept practically first, so that we you will get the better idea what is this data provider annotation, why it's very important while working with the TestNG framework. Because whenever you want to do the data parameterization, you require to use this data provider annotations. If you want to test the single thing with the multiple test data set, you require to use this data provider annotation. So simple. So let's go to the Eclipse, and I'll creating one class here, name as name as TestNG data provider. Okay, let's create a one class with TestNG underscore data provider. Okay, so this is the class, and in this class, let's say I'll create a if you want to log in the application somehow. So with this, this type of three types of data, let's say valid username. I'll taking this simple example, but real time you can use the multiple type of example. So valid username, invalid username, and let's say valid password, and let's say valid password, and let's say invalid username. So with this test data set, you let's say you want to log in with the application. Okay, so how we can create this? Like, let's say I'll create a one method like public void, let's say uh, valid username name, and let's say valid password. Okay, this is one method. Okay, again, let's say I'll create a second method like invalid username, and valid password. I'll create third method like valid username and invalid password. So these are the three methods or three tests we require to write, right? At the rate test. I'll give in the annotations, Control Shift O to import this at the rate test annotations, and giving this annotation to all these three methods at the rate test. As we have seen, using at the rate test annotations, we can use this TestNG data provider annotation. So is this good idea to write that these three separate test for all this test set of data to test all this three type of test data set? Okay, so we require to write a logic here to execute the test with valid username and valid password, like invalid username and valid password, and then valid username and invalid password. Okay, so this is the we require to create a three methods if you want to test this data with these three data sets. To avoid this situation, okay, we require to use a TestNG data provider annotation. Okay, so how it's work? So TestNG data provides features allow you to supply test data with to the test method in the structured way. Okay, how it's create the structured way? By annotating method with at the data provider separate the test data from our test logic. This method returns two-dimensional array and iterate object containing the test. Okay, so how it's working with two-dimensional array? So let's say I'll create a one method inside my this class. Okay, simple. Let's say here. So I'm not going to write this three type of test for to test this three type of data set. I'll create a one single test data provider annotation and creating one single method to test all these three type of data sets. Okay, so first of all, let's create a one public, let's say object, and in this object, let's say create a two-dimensional array type of object. Okay, so I'll create a two-dimensional array object, and let's say get data. Okay, this is the method two-dimensional array type of data. Okay, we require to add return type. We'll add it return later because we are not using like any return type here, void or anything. So I'll just create an object here, like a object, let's say two-dimensional type of object. Let's say data is equal to new object. Okay, and let's say in this new object we require to pass two dimensions array again, and we require to set our test data set, and how many types we require to execute that like array. Okay, and what type of data set we have. So we require to execute this data three type, like we have three data sets, right? So I'll just pass here like a three. Okay, and inside this object like a pass like a three, and what how many type of data you have. So we have username and password, two type of data, so I'll just pass here two. Okay, then let's say add this data set to this two-dimensional array. Okay, so how to add that? Using this data variable, let's say data on the zeroth index, let's say array always starting with zeroth index, so remember this concept, guys, is equal to, so first of all, let's say I want to add the first data set as a username is like Bhau-Automation, let's say lab. Okay, this is my first username. Okay, I'll just copy in this second data set, and I'll in the second data set I'll just passing like zeroth index and zeroth index here itself, and zeroth index and one index, let's say password, like let's say password is au at the rate hash, let's say 1234. Okay, this is my first password. Okay, again I'll just copy this and paste it three times here. Okay, we have three data sets, right? So first of all, the valid username and valid password is correct. Second index, I want to add the first row and column 0 itself, right? And first row and first column itself. So second data set is called as like a invalid username, right? So I'll just remove that like lab from here. So it will be create like a uh, invalid username and valid password. Okay, and third index is like two second row and zeroth index, and second row and first index. Okay, and the username here is username correct and the password is wrong, so I'll just remove here hash and at that, so it will create a wrong password. So we need to add a return type here because we have three data sets created and we require to add that in the return parameter. So I'll just hover on it and add return statement, and inside the return statement we'll return this data because we are creating this object, and we'll just returning this data to the our test annotation. Okay, so how to access this test data? So simple, to create this test like a valid username, invalid username and everything, I'll just create a one single test here like a public void, let's say login. Okay, this is the one single test I have created, and in this single test I'll just use like a parameters, it's called as a data provider. Okay, inside this test, let's say annotations, and inside this test annotation, uh, just add like a data provider annotation. Data provider is equal to, inside that, let's say we require to pass that method which we have created here, like a get data. In double inverted comma, let's pass this method get data. Okay, now we have created get data method here. So how many types of data we are getting? Two types of data. So we require to create a here two parameters, like what type of parameter it is? It is a string type of parameter. So we'll create a two parameters here, string one like username and comma string second is, let's say, password. Okay, two type of data, and just I'll print it here like a system.out.println, let's say username. Okay, and system.out.println, let's say password. Okay, so avoid this challenge. Okay, now we not required to write this type of three test, we just have one test, and with this one test only, using this data provider like annotations and this get data method, uh, using this two-dimension array, we will test this multiple type of data set uh, in the single test itself. Okay, so this is the beauty of data provider annotation. So how this index will get work? So this index will be work like simple. Let's say I will explain you guys this one. So I'll create open my Excel sheet here. Okay, and I'll just, so this is my test data username, right? So in this, let's say, okay, just expand this one so you will get a better idea. Okay, so this is my username on the zeroth index, and this is my password in the first column, right? This is my username second row, and this is again in first column. This is my username in the third row, and this is my password in the first index itself. Okay, so now let's understand what is this. So this is how it's working. Zero, so array is always starting from the zeroth index, right? So the how it's working, whenever your control goes here, this is our first column, it's contained as a zeroth column, right? And this is my first row, it's contained as a zeroth row, right? This is zero row, this is one first row, this is second row, this is the first column, this is second column, this is third column, this is fourth column, right? Like this. So first of all, we have on the zeroth like row, right? And this is our zeroth row and our zeroth column, like this one, right? So first value is Bhau-Automation lab, it will store here, right? Then how our indexes work, we have again coming into zeroth row, so this is our zeroth row, and we have to go to the first column. So this is our zeroth column and this is our first column, so we will take this password. Same way, second time it will come with the first row, so this is our first row because this is one zero, this is one first one, right? So first row, zeroth index, so zeroth column, so zeroth column is this. Okay, first row, this is our uh, zeroth column. Okay, so I think so. Yeah, first row and our zeroth column, right? This one we name will take and store it here. Again, then first row and our second column. So this is our first row and this is our second column, right? So this will take this value. Again, this is our like second row means it is the zeroth row. This is one first row. This is the second row. So this will take this value and store it here, zeroth column, right? And again, third time it will take a uh, second row means this 0, 1, and 2, right? The second row and this is our first column. So this is our zeroth column and this is our first column. So it will take this value, and one by one it will run our program, and it will store into the our data set whatever we required using this data provider annotation. Like this is the get data. If I run this program, let's see what is the output. So this test will be get run 3 times. So what is the error here? So here is the data provider name is like a get data. Okay, let's see what is the error here. Okay, so get data. Okay, so what silly mistake we have did here? We have not provided here data provider annotations. So it simply says that data provider name annotations is required, right? So we'll just pass here data provider annotations. Okay, and using this data provider annotation, it will read this get data method and it will execute that. Okay, so simply I will just run this program again and we'll see what is the output here. So simple, this is the one single test, but this single test will be run multiple times and we'll get this multiple type of test data and we'll test this data with the multiple time, right? And your three test, one test is single pass, but it will run with different test set of test data. So it's pass three times. So this is username and password, username and password. So guys, I'll tell you, so this is the way we can like work with the data provider annotations and we'll get this data in the using this data provider get method. And in the single method itself you can get and test our like multiple data sets values, like if you want to do any like a parameterization or anything, you can easily do this using this. Okay, so you can do the data driven testing and everything. So if you have multiple set of data and you want to use in the single method, you can use this data provider annotation. So I'll recommended you to test this example with the real-time concepts in Selenium. For example, if you want to log in with your any application and where you want to check that application with the multiple set of test data, you can use that data and practically do this concept so that you can understand in the better way. Okay, if you have any question related to this concept, you can just simply comment out me. I'll give the answer related to this. And also if you like this video, so don't forget to comment out here for the motivation purpose, and don't forget to share with your friends and colleagues so they can also learn the automation concepts practically. So let's meet in next chapter with more interesting concept related to the automation. Till time, have a great day. Bye bye, take care.